Welcome back to the Vera House podcast. We've got another fun one for you today. Today's episode, we get into a couple of fun things. One, and the most interesting of which I think is Richmond has ADD weather. It just can't make up its mind. It was 70 degrees and then it snowed and now the sun's out. It's all over the place. So we talked about that. We also talked about where to get our sweet treats. We've got a couple of fun places that we like to go and get our treats around town. And we also talked about this new phenomenon descending on Richmond, street takeovers, and how we feel about them and maybe some of the consequences. What else we talk about?
Yeah. Speaking of sweet treats, right? Those lots of donuts, but not the kind that you eat, I guess.
So silly.
But yeah, talked about a lot of great, like kind of hidden local gems where you can pick up some good stuff. We talked about the Monument 10K, which is coming up soon. And we'd love to invite you to come and walk or run it with us. And if you decide to do so, you'll get a discount when you sign up for the Monument 10K, and you'll get a limited edition piece of apparel, which is going to be probably a tank top.
Yeah.
But we're pretty pumped about that. So all the details for that are in this episode and linked in the description below. We also briefly talk about the flock camera situation again. And then we talk about how Richmond decided to remove the wrong flock, right? So what did they do with the geese in Bird Park? What's going on with that?
Who knows, man?
Man, only one way to get rid of the goose poop in Richmond, I suppose. So you have to stay tuned and learn about that. Tune in, enjoy the episode. It's great when the pizza place is all closed down and then you can't have any pizza because it's somehow like the snowpocalypse in the middle of March.
You're telling me, man. I left the house today and I didn't know what to wear because the weather got ADD or something.
Yeah.
It was 75 degrees this morning. Then it was 35 degrees and cloudy. And then it rained. Then it snowed. Well, actually, then it's like hailed / sleet came down, like ice chips. Then it snowed. Then the sun came out and it was beautiful.
We disclaimer, right? Because the weather is such a cliche thing to talk about. But today was something else. Like today, I don't know that I've ever really seen anything quite like it. And I was even looking at, there was this Reddit thread that somebody just posted recently. And it says, so the apocalypse is happening here, right? It was 75 degrees this morning, but it's been raining all day. Then it was thundering at my office for a few hours. And all of a sudden, there was a huge crack of thunder. And then snow. Now the sun's out and it's beautiful. And yeah, I know we joke about experiencing all the seasons. It's like, dude, we checked them all in a single day.
I want to say this is a first, but I can't really say that. It has to have happened here before.
Probably.
Not to my knowledge, not to my memory that this has happened. It was definitely a weird one because I didn't check the weather. I think I saw a friend's group chat put this special report thing in our group chat, and I just didn't read it because of the last couple of days. It's been really nice out. 65, 75, 85 last couple of days, sunny, maybe a little cloudy, no humidity. It's been really, really nice, especially after having the ice blizzard thing come through. So I'll go outside, 10 o'clock in the morning, 65. It's a little cloudy. It's supposed to be, kind of gloomy all day. Cool. And I'm working at home and then I see it start to precipitate, but then it's misty. And then it's hail, but tiny little bead hail, the little small ones. And then I went out for an errand, came back full on dumping snow. We got an inch, a half an inch of snow today at least. And then right before we came here, the sun came out and the temperature went back up.
Yeah.
It's bananas.
Well, and not to mention, yesterday was almost 90 degrees.
I know, man. I had the AC on full blast.
Yeah.
Sweating in the car.
And then today it's snowing. That's just that. Yeah. Just that is wild.
It is.
And
it, like you said, it's cliche. Talk about the weather all the time. But it's because of this.
Yeah.
This is noteworthy. The lady that came into the store at Montana had something to say about it. It's it's on people's minds because it is very strange.
Yeah, definitely strange. And I guess it's just coincidence that we just had our viral video where you were talking about all the seasons of Virginia.
I know. And look, and here we are, Virginia proven me right. It's just, it's a part of living here, man.
Yeah.
You get used to it. I mean, not unfortunately, but it is, it's part of what living here is like.
Yeah.
We talk to other people from different parts of the country and they don't have like a springtime. They'll ask like, what's it like in Virginia? It's like, okay, yeah, summer, spring, fall, whatever. Like spring. What is spring? It's like, it's either hot or cold. Most places don't have that. That's like consider that a luxury of living here.
Yeah.
Today is a perfect example. We had summer, winter, spring, and then tonight it's going to be fall because it'll probably be freezing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I have a client. I was talking to them today. They live in Lake Como in Italy, and it's like full blown spring there. And in the Zoom call, they could see like behind me, it was snowing.
Yeah.
And they were like, where do you live again? I'm like, I live on the East Coast of the US,
Yeah.
I think it's weird happenstance, it's just kind of random that today gave us all 4 seasons in 24 hours. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But again, the charm of living in Virginia, as opposed to living somewhere like New York, for example, especially during the winter months, it's been my luck that I've only been to New York in the wintertime. Like I haven't been there to like recent memory during the spring or summer. So I've only been there when it's brutally cold or snowing. But I'd take what we had this winter over that any day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from New York. I love New York. I don't know if people know that I'm from New York. I've lived here forever, by the way. But I was born in New York. I was not born here. But I think New York, like wintertime in New York is stunning. It's beautiful, prior to Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Like once Christmas is over, then like the novelty wears off a little bit and you're like, all right, I'm over this. Cause it's just like chaos.
Yeah.
But especially New York City, it's snowing. It's like a movie, it's like amazing. So if you're going to experience New York City, it's not a terrible time. And you know what, dude, like put it this way. You think about how Richmond handled all the snow and stuff, like New York's got it down. Man.
Yeah.
They know what's up. And Boston is also very, very good as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, you make a good point. I've been up there during the holidays or like shortly thereafter. It's the beginning of the new year. I've been up there and it's beautiful. Like downtown Manhattan, Brooklyn, the cityscape is really nice. But then, well, like you said, the novelty for me quickly wears off because I am from Virginia. I had a friend who lives there tell me that he doesn't have a car because his coat is his car. He spent $2,000 on a Canada Goose coat and he walks most places because he doesn't need a car.
Sheesh.
But he walks most places with his $2,000 coat because it is negative 10 degrees just about every day.
Yeah.
The wind is like 25 miles an hour, crosswinds through the streets. You need a coat that costs $2,000 just to get back and forth to work. And I'm not prepared because I don't live in New York.
Yeah.
I go up there with my like what I call winter clothes and I'm like shivering and like just cursing the ground that I walk on because I'm not prepared for wintertime in New York.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, and even during all the like snowpocalypse here, it's not like the temperature. I mean, it was cold at night.
Yeah.
But like all the snow and the ice that lasted, the weather during the day was like 50 degrees. It really wasn't bad. It's just that everything was covered in ice.
Yeah.
And like because it was so condensed and packed, it just didn't melt,
It was a weird time, man. When it was starting to like, kind of calm down and some of the ice was melting, but, a lot of the ice that was still along the sides of the roads where people street park wasn't, especially in Carytown. There were people struggling to not slip and bust their ass walking down the sidewalk and to get in and out of the parking spaces. I watched a guy, popped into to Zorch. It's my spot. Popped into Zorch to get a slice. You pop the curb, the hump that is the ice block that was there, and you get into a spot that somebody left prior because their car was there before all the ice fell.
Yep.
And you kind of like snuggle in because your car settles back into the spot. This guy did that and he was in a Prius and he goes to leave and can't get out.
Of course.
The wheels are just spinning. He comes back into to Zorch. He's like, can I get like a used box, a pizza box to like help me get out of this spot? I'm stuck. Meanwhile, this is like almost a week after the ice storm. The weather is about 55. It's sunny. It's mostly, the ice is mostly gone, but there's just this remnant still there that people were still struggling with. And that was like the biggest gripe that I had when it came to like the city not taking care of it. That was an inevitable situation that could have been avoided. It could have been preempted by some pretty standard issue actions like laying down salt and then continuing to do that and like all these other things. Like we went into that a couple episodes ago, but I saw this like time and time again. People's cars aren't prepared for, ice like that. And this dude, he just wanted a slice of pizza. And three people stopped to help him and they couldn't get his car out.
Wow. Yeah. As soon as you said pizza box, I was like,
yeah, like
how'd that work?
Stick it underneath the wheel and like try to get traction. And no,
that was never going to work.
No.
Yeah. You mentioned, griping about the city and stuff like that. You know what I saw not long after our last conversation was the congresswoman that you mentioned, I think Elizabeth Guzman, I believe it's the right person. She's actually also leading this whole like investigation into the like spending of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there's like $10 million unaccounted for.
Not a surprise at all.
Yeah. And she's like digging into all that stuff and basically like requesting the information from the mayor and from the city. And they're basically like avoiding it and not answering. Just like
typical.
Yeah. Very strange.
Typical political situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, but that just made me think of that. But I was looking into it. I was like, damn,
and
that's not good.
The political activities and the circumstances surrounding where money goes and doesn't go has never been a subject that I had lots of interest in, really, until we started talking about infrastructure, plans, things that affect you and I, but also affect lots of our friends. And now that we have, the ability to talk through some of these things, I'm realizing that I do care a lot more about them because they do generally affect me and the city at large. And those big numbers like 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, all that stuff trickles downhill and it will eventually affect you or someone directly.
And I mean, that's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
They're putting what? Yeah.
Just misplaced my briefcase full of $1,000 bills.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? Because they're spending, what was it? Like an estimated 30 million on Browns Island.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, dude, 10 million bucks is not a small chunk of change. Like that's a ton of money. And I agree with you. I think two things. I don't think it's just us and Richmond. I think people all over this country have recently become more aware of like, wait, where's all my tax money going? So I think that's a recent thing, but it's also local. And I think it's because you and I now spend time intentionally doing research about what's happening. Whereas, maybe a couple of years ago, that wasn't really the case, right?
Yeah.
So now week in and week out, we're hearing feedback from people in our audience. We're doing research for the podcast episodes. We're meeting people in real life that are saying, oh, we heard about this, or we heard about that, or you guys should talk about this. So I definitely think it's like more it's no longer in our peripheral. It's like in our main side of vision now.
Yeah.
And it's not even really like we're going out of our way to think about it or participate in it. It's just, we're way more aware of what's going on now because of the environment that we're in and doing this, I think.
It's honestly fascinating. And, it was a byproduct, like you mentioned, of just having the podcast and an opportunity to talk about the city and then, to learn about it at the same time. You learn the good and you learn the bad and you learn the weird or whatever in between, which I think has been very cool for me as a Richmond native. And I mentioned, that politics necessarily isn't my subject matter of interest.
Same.
But the through lines and the proximity to things that I am interested in and the connecting threads to politicians, to legislature, to bills that get passed, to laws that are made, and to the way that we operate in the city, it's undeniable. So it is interesting now. Not that I'm going to dive headfirst into it and just study the city code and, all of these things that have to do with the specificity of some of these problems that we're having. But in the process of researching, I'm finding like, okay, this is actually kind of interesting. And you kind of like the nuts and bolts. This is 100% my like personality, right? Like I grew up taking things apart without knowing how to put them back together so I could learn how to put them back together. This is kind of the same thing. I like cars. I like mechanics. I like fixing things. We're just popping the hood on the city and seeing how it all works and then finding out, well, that bolt doesn't go there. Why is it there, and why is no one talking about it?
I think like we would all wish for politics to be simple, because if we think about, well, oh, these are the simple things that I want out of the city that I live in and the community that I'm in. This is fulfillment to me. This is happiness to me. And there's probably some pretty simple bullet points that most people that live here could agree on. And so I think on the surface, it's like, okay, this is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. But I guess the truth about politics is that it's not simple. And there's a ton of nuance to it. It's like very complicated, very complex. And there's so much to it that, yeah, like not everybody's going to agree on a lot of things. And then how do you find a happy medium and find a solution? Like, it's not a job I would want. That's for sure.
That's true, man. Like, I'm watching again, maybe for the fourth time at this point, the show Veep on
I don't know
HBO.
if I've ever heard of that. I thought you were going to say House of Cards.
No, but also a great show.
Yeah.
No, Veep is on HBO. It's the vice president becomes a president. It's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who plays Elaine in Seinfeld.
Oh, nice.
She is the vice president at the beginning of the series, eventually becomes president, loses the presidency, and it's like their version of what they think working and existing in the DC politics would actually be like, but if it was a sitcom. It's
Gotcha.
hilarious, but some of the stuff that they talk about, the situations that they find themselves in that are diametrically opposed, but they have to make a decision because nothing happens if nothing gets decided. And it's a lose-lose scenario on both ends. And there's like one big payoff with one big loss and another big payoff with another big loss. And you have to someone has to swallow the bullet, and then they move on to the next win, lose, win scenario. And that's just how politics works.
Yeah. 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 I've never seen that show. There's some good ones though. And it reminds me of like the intensity of some of that stuff. Like it makes me think of House of Cards. It makes me think of Succession.
Yeah.
Even like Suits a little bit.
Yep.
It's like some of these really good shows that kind of gives like an inside look into what you normally wouldn't be able to really see or understand. And of course it's, it's a show, it's entertainment. So who knows how close that is to reality, but obviously those people do plenty of research into these industries to try to get their show as close to reality as possible. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, there's probably a lot to learn from that stuff, and it at least gives you a glimpse into some of it,
Did you know they filmed the last episode of Succession at the Jefferson Hotel?
I don't think I knew that until you mentioned it like recently.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that originally. But I do think you like mentioned that sometime within maybe over the holidays or something.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. It
Yeah.
doesn't look like Richmond unless you're looking, or unless you can, you're paying very close attention,
Yeah.
because they shot it specifically to not, showcase or advertise Richmond.
Right. Like it's not location specific.
No, but it is.
the Jefferson fits that vibe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's, obscure enough so it can't be placed anywhere because it is a very unique building. And even there's a shot of the motorcade of, I don't know, I can't remember the main character's name, but his motorcade is like driving down Monument Avenue and then pulling up to the roundabout at the Jefferson. And then they're in one of these giant suites. And they filmed all of it on location in the city. It's really cool. Like, you should take another look at the last episode of season 1.
I'm going to have to go back and watch that because that is sick. And I remember watching that show, and at that time, it was like the best show. I was like, dude, this is hands down the best show I've seen in a long time. I was really impressed with it. And I remember like, maybe that was like 2021 or something.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
And I just immediately was like binging these episodes.
Yeah.
And actually I do remember because I was in Florida speaking at an event, and I was like in my hotel room, like watching the episodes back to back, and like was basically delaying getting ready to go give like a keynote speech.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, man, I would almost rather sit here and watch Succession than like go down to the, conference and actually like talk at this thing.
Yeah.
I do remember that. And I think it was like 2021 or something like that. Yeah. What a great show though.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm a big TV, I wouldn't say buff, but I'm a big fan of television. I know you are, but to a different degree. And I was thinking about this today. There are things about our society that some people view as like a waste of time or a useless a useless waste or use of your energy and your time and your attention. And a lot of entertainment is seen that way. Movies, TV, video games. And during the early 90s, there was a whole push to reduce the amount of television that teens and young people were watching and reduce the amount of video games that teens and young people were playing and exposing themselves to. And I was thinking about this today, man. On the other side of the TV is bad, it rots your brain conversation is an entire world of creators, industry professionals, artists, super talented people that their entire lives depend on creating entertainment for people. And I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, is the Conan O'Brien podcast. And he interviews occasionally, I think once a week, he interviews members on his staff. And he was interviewing a writer that works for the show. And he was talking about how, he came up and took a leap of faith and went into trying to be a writer for a comedy skit, and then worked his way up the ladder and made it into the Conan show. And he's now writing jokes for the Oscars for Conan to tell on stage in front of literally millions and millions of people. The joy that TV brings to some people is immeasurable. The joy that something like a keynote from someone like Conan O'Brien brings to the audience and to people watching at home is incalculable. So it's just, that's my rosy tinted glasses view on TV and educate, or TV and entertainment. As someone who's also behind the camera from time to time, and kind of divided between providing and being a part of the entertainment like this podcast, and then also producing and being the creative mind behind the video and the behind the scenes part.
Yeah. Well, in typical fashion, it makes me think of ancient history, right? It's like TV used to just be in the form of a play, and you think about people like Shakespeare, and, it's entertainment has always been a really important part of human life, to help you, especially when life was much harder than it is now, as much as people would like to say things are crazy and things are, yes, true. But things used to be much more difficult many years ago. And entertainment was desperately important, or direly important. And it's no different than a play, but I think now we've got algorithms and screens and all this stuff. And it reaches a point where it becomes a bit of an issue, mediation and being able to know when it's time to turn the TV off and go to bed,
Yeah. That's where I struggle. I was I'm falling asleep in front of the TV too many nights a week at this point.
Yeah.
But, especially nowadays, there is a lot going on. I think we talked about, I was doing the edit for last week's episode, and we talked about how it felt like an entire year has gone by and it's only been a month and 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff has happened in the last two months, but a lot of stuff has happened in the last 5 years. Just more stuff that has had an impact on your nervous system and your psychological well-being and your stress levels in your relationships. There's been more of those things by leaps and bounds than decades prior. And a lot of that is to do with social media and the news outlets. And you are exposed to everything that's happening around the world at all times. And obviously mediating or mitigating that is very important. But also to try and counterbalance the amount of anxiety inducing stuff you scroll through on your Instagram feed. Maybe you want to watch a lighthearted show about who's going to marry the richest guy in California.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you sent me this thing about ADD or ADHD and how, certain brains, what do they call it? Neurodivergent, right? People that their brain chemistry is a little bit different typically do stay up at night and either are doing creative work or stay up watching shows. For me, it's documentaries. I just go down these rabbit holes of all this crazy stuff, all this different history and weird stuff. It's just part of it. And a lot of it, there's joy that comes with it. But there gets to a point where it's all right, I need to turn this off and it's time for me to go to bed so that I don't screw up my schedule tomorrow and all that other stuff. It can be tough. Yeah,
dude. I'm actually, maybe I'm re-realizing it, but I think I already knew it. But prior to March, maybe April of last year, when I was still kind of going out on the weekends, going out to like, see my friends DJ or go to hang out with friends at the bar or whatever. Staying up late was a part of like my weekly routine.
Yeah.
Now it's really not so much. Like I'm on the other side of it. I'm in bed at home and in bed by midnight most of the time. But I still get this, there's this palpable like surge of energy as soon as the sun goes down.
Yeah.
And I know that there are lots of people that can resonate with this. And I don't know the specific science behind it, but there is something to do with the bewitching hour and nighttime activities, things you don't do during the daytime that are more exciting, just inherently, just more thrilling. And as soon as the sun goes down, he's like, oh, what are we going to get into today?
Yep.
And then instead of doing that, I'm like, taking a shower, cooking dinner, putting on some chill beats, and then watching Veep.
Yep.
Except for on the weekends, occasionally I'll go out and see a friend DJ, or I'll go out and DJ myself. But there's definitely something about that. In that post I sent you, it said that, and I'm going to paraphrase, the people with ADHD or ADD get a boost of creative juices and creative mental energy when the sun goes down, because during the day, you're being bombarded by all of these things that require your attention, taking care of your house, going to work, talking to your friends and family, dealing with your finances, or whatever else you got going on. But when that's all over, you have your brain has personal time, free time. You are more in control of what's going on, because all of your, let's call them obligations, are simply just kind of fade away after the sun goes down for the most part. So you feel way more focused on anything creative. You're more excited about doing that creative work because you feel like you're making progress without having the distractions of things that are going on around you, which makes total sense why I really enjoy doing creative work or learning about things creatively at night.
Yeah. Well, speaking of people who have an exciting nightlife, I want to talk about this like craziness that's going on Broad Street.
Yeah.
But there's two quick things I want to talk about first. One is you mentioned DJs, and you have a show coming up soon, right?
I do. I have a show.
What are the details on that?
So it's called Low Frequency. I have a event series called High Frequency, which is a rooftop party that we've been doing at the Graduate Hotel. That is coming up in May when the Graduate Hotel's rooftop reopens. But while it's still a little chilly outside, we're doing what's called Low Frequency, and we're doing it at Black Iris on April 11th from 9 till 2 a.m. And it's me and 3 other DJs. We bring in the entire setup. We revamp Black Iris with lights and decorations just to create a really cool space to come and vibe out and dance. They usually have some specialty cocktails for us that night. We did one a couple months ago, and it was a hit. That was actually in the middle peak of the ice storm.
Yeah.
And because a lot of places were closed, we had a big crowd of our friends come through and hang out that night. And it was a lot of fun. So if you like dance music, if you like adult, when I say adult, I mean grown-ups having a party. I don't mean like kids and lasers and glow sticks. I mean like grown-ups having fun. Come to Black Iris on April 11th for our little shindig.
Yeah. And I was at the last one. It was a blast.
Yeah, man.
It was definitely a good time. And that's such a cool, like unique venue too.
Yeah.
Like the way that it was laid out, the way that it was set up was awesome. It's like a speakeasy vibe, but it's also kind of like a chill art lounge. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely cool. So where do people get info? Do they go to your Instagram? What is it? Mass Effects Music?
So yeah, you can go to my Instagram, Mass Effects Music on Instagram. You could also go to the High Frequency Instagram page, which is highfrequency.rva on Instagram. And the flyer and links to buy tickets are on my Mass Effects page and on the High Frequency page. Both of the links are in the bio, so you just click there and get all that information.
Dude, let's go. Real quick, one other thing I want to talk about is we recently partnered with our good friends over at Sports Backers. You've heard of Sports Backers, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has. Like, they're the best, man. They're a Richmond nonprofit whose mission is quite simple. They inspire people across our region in Central Virginia and beyond to live more actively. And one of their most iconic events is coming up soon. Surely you've heard of it. It is the UCrops Monument Avenue 10K. It is, it is easily one of Richmond's like favorite spring traditions. since the year 2000, I didn't know that it had been going on for that long.
Me neither, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. So since the year 2000, tens of thousands of people from across Richmond and beyond have gathered on the beautiful Monument Avenue to run, jog, or walk the course together. And it's not really just a race. It is like a citywide celebration.
Yeah.
They have porch parties, costumes, music, and there are thousands of spectators lining the streets the entire way with signs and confetti cannons and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's a blast. But what makes it really special is that it's literally for everyone. It's not just for serious runners and athletes and competitors. It is for first-time 10Kers. It's for people who just want to walk and have fun. Families, groups of friends, everybody just shows up together and they share the same finish line for the same reason. And this year we've put together our own Vera House squad for the 10K, and it's called the Vera House Creative Club. And we'd love to invite you to join us and participate in the Monument Avenue 10K. So if you've been following us, you already know that we're all about bringing people together in Richmond. So whether you're a creator or entrepreneur or none of the above, you could just be somebody who just wants to get out and kind of be part of something happening in the city. Anyone who joins our 10K team, you'll get $5 off your race entry. And more importantly, you'll get a limited edition Vera House collaboration tank top and an invite to come meet up with us, come hang out. And we're going to do coffee and bagels prior to the race before we hit Monument Avenue together. And we'll be guiding two groups. So we're going to do a comfortable run pace. I'll lead that one. And we'll do a walking group, and Perri will lead that one. And so whether you want to push yourself a little bit or you just want to come out, get out of the house, get active, meet some new people, you are officially invited, and all are welcome and encouraged to join us. So you can sign up today at sportsbackers.org. Now use code Vera House, just all one word, for $5 off your entry. And then most importantly, be sure to choose Vera Creative Club as your team. That's really important. That's how we get your name and your info, and we know that you're somebody who is going to get a limited edition collaboration tank top. So we look forward to seeing you there. The 10K is a ton of fun. I've done it before. Have you ever done it?
I've never done it.
Okay. It's a celebration.
It's my first one.
What a great time to like do it for the first time, right? Like if you're going to do it, go all in, go big, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, the idea is like, it's going to be fun. You know, it's a reason to get together. I think we both are, but I'm definitely a big advocate of like, yeah, just get active, go do something. I know it can be hard to like meet new people and force yourself to do something social. It's also hard to force yourself to do something physical too.
Yeah.
So it's like, give yourself an excuse, use this as a reason to come out, have a good time. It's for a good cause. Sports Backers is a great nonprofit. They're obviously very well known. They do all types of other events too. So they're part of, the River City Marathon or Richmond Marathon and the River City Half Marathon. I just ran that last week. I crushed my goal, did quite well, but we'd love to see you there. Go to sportsbackers.org, follow the instructions. We'll also link everything down in the description below. So, Monument Avenue is beautiful.
It is.
How about Broad Street? Also beautiful?
It depends on what you just determine as beautiful, because apparently burnout lines and busted tire bits can be beautiful.
Yeah. I have it in my notes here. I put, quote, Broad Street is cooked.
Literally being sauteed by tires.
Yeah. We got a bunch of young kids with ADHD just burning up Broad Street, man.
And we're definitely going to go a little deep into this one. This is not a new thing, so it's actually kind of cool for me to see this. This is a resurgence of car culture in Richmond, but specifically on Broad Street. Now, is this the best, most appetizing way to engage in car culture? I'm not even going to say probably, definitely not. Like, don't do it. But I grew up in car culture. I grew up street racing in the downtown area, and car meetups on Broad Street were a massive thing in the early 2000s.
They were. I mean, I've been fortunate. I've had plenty of nice cars throughout adulthood, and I love car shows and car meetups. I've been going to them ever since I was a kid. I'm a huge fan of Formula One, which we don't really talk about on the show because why would we? But I love motorsports, and I know that you do too. And maybe from different perspectives, different angles. Like I grew up go-karting and like watching Michael Schumacher and all this. I love it. Mm-hmm. This is a different vibe. This is like something else, man. I can't say that I ever really participated in something quite like this. Now I've seen these types of videos, off and on over the years of, stuff like this going on. To me, this is like a very Atlanta vibe.
Yeah.
You know, you got the Hellcats, you got the Chargers. It's just like pure pandemonium.
Yeah.
People doing donuts, people getting run over, hanging out of the cars. You got the GoPro. They're like antagonizing the cops. Like
It's wild.
It's wild to see this in the DMV, in the Richmond DMV parking lot.
That video is kind of nuts because like, and I mean, honestly, that's the MO, right? Is like pushing the envelope. You have so many people surrounding the cars doing all the crazy stuff that when the cops show up, they just disrespect the cops because they like can't do anything.
Yeah.
They can't arrest everybody and they can't run anyone over. So they have to like stand back and sit in their cars and wait for people to just disperse.
Yeah.
So it is aptly named a street takeover because they occupy Broad and Belvedere, or Broad and Boulevard, or Broad and at the Science Museum for hours. And there's nothing that anyone can do because there's just too many people.
Yeah, you know, and as soon as the cops pull out the mustard gas or whatever, you know, and they shoot the tear gas, then it's going to be like, oh, the cops attack kids or, you know, whatever. It's going to be a whole headline.
Yeah,
so their hands are tied. What are
their
they
hands
going
are
to do?
tied. And I mean, that's the thing is like the spirit of like, you know, rebel car culture. I'm fully on board with like back road street racing or like meeting up at the parking lot when it's closed. That I'm down for. This, not so much. I'm also like not a Charger guy. That became somewhere along the line owning a Charger became a personality. It's not my thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, you know, let's think about like a Dodge Viper, right? $100,000 car.
Yeah.
Essentially, you have a much more affordable Dodge Viper.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I can get a Charger, you know, from any, you know, you can get a pretty busted one for like 11 grand, you know, up to like a pretty nice one for, you know, call it 20 to 40 grand.
Right.
Right. So it, you know, talking of cars, it's an insanely powerful vehicle for a much more affordable price. You know, I think with us growing up, yeah, you're not getting your hands on like, you know, a 400 to 800 horsepower vehicle for 20 grand. It's just not happening.
It's kind of bananas. Now, I'm split on this because on the one hand, I like the anarchy and I like the rebel spirit of both the people that are participating in like the car culture and of the manufacturer. Dodge specifically is the only car maker that's making cars like this. And they have been like really trying to push from an advertising perspective, they've been pushing their historical roots as moonshiners. So I think I was telling you about moonshining and running, and that was the lineage that led to NASCAR. And they have roots in muscle cars, and the Charger and the Challenger were huge muscle cars in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And they're the only manufacturer that's still perpetuating that lifestyle. It's unfortunate that now if you're 18, you can get a license. If you've got decent credit, you can get a loan and buy one and then just do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, like implode your life in about 20 minutes.
Put yourself on the internet showing you breaking 15 different laws and running over somebody who's still in high school.
Yeah, you know, it's shenanigans and it's fun when you're with your friends and you're filming and you're like, and the adrenaline's pumping and you're doing donuts. It's not fun when 2 days later they just come knock on your door and say, hey, you're under arrest.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I thought I got away with it. It's like, no, not really, dude.
There were 35 people that took a video of you doing that. How'd you think you were going to get away with it?
Your license plate, like, you know, you basically antagonizing the cops, like all this other stuff.
We got it all.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of it. Like back when I was doing this stuff, like we could run a few races in the downtown area. So like near the CSX train, the intersection of the train station or the train railroad tracks and an industrial park that was largely closed. Actually, Ironwood Automotive is back there now.
Oh, yeah.
Back there where the change, where the interchange of the tracks were, there were plenty of like half mile, quarter mile stretches of street that were completely desolate because they were just business parks. So we could run back there, call it 50, 100 people would meet up at the Kroger parking lot on Broad Street here. No problem from the cops, no problem from the neighbors. Nobody's burning out. Everybody's literally just standing around looking at cars. Midnight comes around. Everyone quietly pulls out, meets up at the race spot. You pull up, you turn your lights off, no systems, no burning out. You do a couple of runs until you get a noise complaint, and then everybody packs up and runs to the next spot.
Yeah.
The next spot would be 15 minutes up 95 on Bells Road. Get off at the Bells Road exit. There's another industrial park there. No one's there because it's closed. Do a couple of runs until the cops show up. By that time, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you just go home.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting hurt. Nobody's running over kids that are still in high school. This is also before social media.
Dude, you beat me to it. I was literally going to say this is 100% like a social media phenomenon because, I remember like I drove a pretty gnarly Subaru. It's like a funny statement to make, right? But like Subarus can be.
You drove a really badass Outback.
Yeah. It was not an Outback, like Subaru WRX STI. It was pretty sick. And, I was in my early 20s. But like, dude, to us, what was fun is like you detail your car, you get together with the squad, you meet up in a parking lot, and then you go on like a joyride down the highway. And that was always like a lot of fun, And sure, there was maybe a little bit of mischief, a little racing, a little speeding here and there. And like it was a blast. It wasn't this, and I think about this like even just thinking about being a sports car owner, it's like, dude, these cars, like I think about my BMW, like I had the BMW M6 Grand Coupe competition, right? Thing is almost 700 horsepower. The tires on that thing are almost 12 inches wide. And it's like, there would be no point in doing that. It's like, man, you're talking about a $1,200 set of tires to just like do a couple donuts and kind of show off. You're roasting those tires. Obviously your license plate's going to get caught in those cameras. And yeah, as an adult, you're like, I'm going to be cooked if I do this.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way I could do that now.
We use the term, like, I think you use it most often. It's like clever shysters.
Yeah.
This is not clever shysters, right?
Not
it's
clever.
Because normally what you would do is say like, this video is AI. This is not real. No one was harmed in this. This guy this person did the complete opposite. Their caption is AI did not make this.
Because they want the cred.
Right.
They want the cred. And the crazy thing is
they might get it.
Yeah, no, they're definitely getting it. The crazy thing is, I guess maybe not the crazy thing is, but like this is a whole culture, right? Like I've seen street takeover videos for years. This isn't new, but it is very new to Richmond.
Yeah.
It's probably not new in Richmond and surrounding counties because maybe it happened like Petersburg, maybe it's happened in other like counties or whatnot. It's definitely new to like downtown Richmond.
Yeah.
But it's not new at all. Like it started, and actually I had to look this up. It started in California in the 80s.
Really?
Yeah. And it was called something else. It wasn't called a street takeover, but it was basically outlaw souped up cars would occupy an area and maybe there's some gang affiliations, maybe there's some shots fired. But it was basically the same thing, but in the 80s. And then it just kind of migrated across the country in different iterations. But it didn't blow up until COVID happened. And the reason it got so big is because social media, and like obviously social media is everyone covering everything all the time.
Yep.
But because there were no cars on the street, no cops out on the road, and no one had to go to work. So you had hundreds of thousands of people with nothing better to do.
Wow.
Than to meet up and do burnouts in the intersection.
Yeah.
With no consequences because COVID.
Yep.
And then it just became like a cultural, like a subculture phenomenon. And like, I saw some of the cars in that video and I saw, a couple of jacked up cars with like giant wheels on them and like big rims and whatnot. It's a conglomeration of different types of car culture. But I mean, honestly, most of it is like black young men and women that participate in the street takeover culture. And it's perpetuated to some degree by like hip hop culture. It's like in, rap music videos and whatnot. But that is nothing new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I guess I mentioned Atlanta and yeah, that's like what makes you think of it. Like Atlanta is like hip hop capital of the planet,
Yeah.
Big trucks, big lights, loud cars. Like it's fun,
Yeah.
Cause don't get me wrong. I'm not a lame. Like I think like I like
cool.
a little mischief. I like a little chaos.
Yeah.
I like a little anti-authority, like, screw the system. Like, yeah, let's do a burnout in the middle of the road. I think the thing that kind of like irks me about this is that the timing is wrong and you've just given like the green light on this whole like surveillance camera thing.
Yeah, man.
And it's like, this just completely validates the reason to have these cameras because what'll happen is, immediately these cameras are going to recognize those license plate and they'll just immediately get a warrant for your arrest,
Yeah.
you know, and the cops are going to come and just arrest you or show up at your house when you're done, you know? And like, and I'm not making a statement on like what should happen to the person participating in this. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the cameras specifically. You know, it's like little things like this are just another check mark of like, okay, you know, and now all of a sudden, the budget for the city is being spent on all this technology. That means that in theory, less police are needed, right? Is that what people want? Like, I don't know, maybe, but it's like, you know, less police are needed. There's less city jobs because it's all being handed to technology.
Yeah.
There's no due process because it's like, you're just being monitored all the time. And then it's like, oh, yep, you're going a little bit over the speed limit, or, you know, you ran a yellow light and it was kind of questionable. So you just get a ticket in the mail and you have no say in it, you know, or you know, you make a little swerve or a little maneuver or something and it's like, oh, ticket. And, you know, the thing is the city's incentivized to do this because this is how they make money.
100%.
You know, and this is not like it's not even a debatable thing, right? Like when the city needs to make money, they put out a bulletin and they say, okay, we need to issue more parking tickets. We need to issue more this. We need to issue more that. We need to have more speed cameras. We need to have more speed traps. We need to do all this stuff because we're trying to generate revenue for the city. And then they disguise it as safety and protection. Yeah. That's how it always is, dude. They disguise taking your freedom as safety and security and protection. And it never is. It never is, dude. You know, and we won't even get into it today, but you know, the only flock that they got rid of was the bird park flock of geese. Did you see that? So it's like, we said, no more flock, get rid of flock. Everyone had their signs and said like, get rid of the flock camera system. And instead the city came and they removed 100 geese from bird park.
Yeah. Another great use of public resources.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't even hate on the fact that they did that, but I just thought it was ironic that it's like no more flock and they like got rid of the flock of geese. It's like, I wonder if they're kind of being funny, you know,
maybe. Yeah. I bet you somebody thought that was a clever approach, but like, it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that is someone thinking that they're funny, but doing something stupid that gets no laughter or funny reaction. And both people are just upset because the person that did it didn't get any laughs. And the person that's watching is like, why did I have to watch you do something idiotic?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I hate shit like that.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Same. But I will say, as somebody, you know, that's my hood over there. And I walk through that park all the time. The goose poop is like out of control. It's out of control, dude. Yeah. So I am actually glad that they did that. Yeah. So cleaned it up. No more poop in the city. But we'll keep the crime going.
Yeah, man. Let's keep the crime going. I mean, I had to look this up because I was curious. You know, we talked about legislation and laws and politics and everything. We're talking about, you know, the street takeovers and giving the city an excuse to then expand its reach to cite people for minor offenses or whatever. That's not considered a minor offense as of January 1. That's considered like reckless endangerment.
For sure.
And they can impound your car, they can take your license, and they can fine you $2,500 and sentence you to 12 months in jail if they catch you.
Yeah.
And now it's not even an if, it's just a when. Yeah. Because they have the flock cameras. They have everyone who was there documenting it on social media. So it's just like, hey, yeah, I had a great weekend last weekend. Do you want to come to the ice cream social with me? I'm going to go and get some ice cream with my girl. And you go to leave and the cops are outside putting your car on a trailer and then waiting to take you to jail with no due process. You don't go and see a judge. You just get arrested.
Yeah. And, you know, like, we're not parents, but I mean, dude, you know, and I hate to sound like a lame, but the thing is, like, if your kid was there, you would surely sit down your kid and be like, hey, have fun, be safe. But like, how about you don't step into the middle of two, 4,000-pound vehicles doing donuts in the middle of the street?
Yeah.
Like, don't step into the middle of that and be filming. Like, that's not funny. And it's, it's only funny until something happens. Right. And it's like, yeah, you're just asking for it. And I think with all this stuff, we've talked about the high school kid at Benedictine and some of these little things. And, I'm not a narc. I'm not going to tell. Well, I guess we're kind of telling on them right now, right? But they told on themselves.
That's the thing.
Yeah. But you're just
all that goes out the window.
Yeah. You're asking for trouble, dude. You like for sure those kids in those videos are, I don't know, because I haven't looked into it. For sure someone's getting arrested. For sure someone's having their license suspended. They're going to have court dates. It's going to happen. There's no way it doesn't, because it became this whole big thing. As soon as it happened, I saw those videos everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like,
when was that?
I mean, this is literally like a week ago. This was like, this was probably this past weekend.
That tracks, because I think I heard it. I think I heard it like late night on Saturday.
I mean, this isn't far. Yeah, it's not far from you.
And I remembered, I'm not far from the highway. So, I hear loud cars or motorcycles cruising up and down the highway, but this went on for like an hour. And I was like, man, somebody must be, I thought somebody was street racing.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, cool, go for it. I used to do it. No, whatever. No big deal. Must have been that.
Yeah.
And now, you ruined it for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what is the solution, right? Do you instead of sending the cops, do you just pull up with a fire truck and spray everyone with water? Like, what do you how do you break it up?
That's what I would. I don't know. Like, based on the videos I've seen, because this is the first time I've seen it in Richmond, but in the past I'd see bigger cities, bigger intersections, more weight, like twice as many people, twice as many cars, 2 and 3 cars doing donuts at the same time with cops at the stoplight, lights on, spotlights on, sirens going, and people just like walking up with their cameras, flicking them off, walking back into the circle, because what are the cops going to do?
Right.
Right. They're committing a crime, technically, like they're breaking the law,
right.
But it's not a violent crime. They're not robbing anybody.
It could be.
Yeah. And I don't know. And I think it reminds me of one of the rules, or the unspoken rule, maybe it is a rule or law, that I would hear about cops chasing motorcycle riders, right? So the cops will always chase you if you're driving, especially in Virginia. They'll always run you down. If your car is faster than theirs, they'll just radio ahead and, they'll get somebody else to find you.
Yeah.
They almost always get them. Like, somebody's doing excessive speed over 100 miles an hour, they will always chase you. If you're riding a motorcycle, they won't chase you if you're going faster than the speed limit, because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
They don't want to force anyone who's riding a motorcycle into a deadly accident. Maybe this is something like that, where it's like, yeah, we could pull up and shine the light on them, but if we drive our car into the middle, we're at risk of running someone over.
Totally.
What if the car that they're in hits us and they get hurt? I don't know, man. Yeah.
They're having like internal meetings to try to figure out the approach. Personally, I like my idea. Pull up with a fire truck. Just drench. Imagine you're a kid, you're there filming, having a good time. You just get totally drenched. You're like, all right, I guess my night's over. Like, my phone's soaked. This isn't fun anymore. Now I'm cold and wet. And
I like the future approach. Like, maybe they get out there with like some sound cannons or something like that, and they just start blasting terrible music.
Oh yeah.
And then they have a loudspeaker like just telling everybody to disperse. I'm thinking like the non-violent crowd control solutions, which I know that they have. And there's always going to be, kickback or blowback from people that say that the non-violent solutions are still violent.
Right.
Pick a lane.
Yeah.
You let it go on, or you find a way to dissolve the problem. And if this is the way that they have chosen and it works, then it works. If you can think of or find of or create a better way that is more humane, by all means.
Dude, we got to do the Vera House fire truck ride along.
I don't know if I've ever done a ride along.
I don't think I've ever really done a ride along like that either. That'd be cool though, right? Like a little undercover Richmond ride along, like behind the scenes.
I want to do one of those things where they like test how fast you can like get up out of a dead sleep and get all dressed up with the gear. I want to do that.
Dude, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Well, the Monument 10K will get us ready.
Oh yeah.
It'll get our heart rate locked in and like ready for the adrenaline of a overnight Vera House undercover Richmond Fire Department ride along.
That could be cool. It would be cool for Vera House to go out and like see some of these like city facilities, meet with like the fire department, meet with the fire chief, talk to some of the firefighters, and like do a ride along. That would be cool.
Yeah. Well, we'll ride through the city, and as we see everyone, we'll wave.
Yeah. We'll do the parade wave.
Yeah.
This podcast was recorded at Vera House Studios in Richmond, Virginia, and produced by Perri Young and Myke Metzger.